So, the last couple of seasons of Destiny have been a very important set of seasons in Destiny history. So, as you might know, when Beyond Light first came around, the game had several locations, activities, strikes, a variety of stuff, including some just general locations, be vaulted into a content vault that is designed to compress the game to make it a little bit easier to run. Less needs to be tweaked when or paid attention to when the game is updated. But at the same time, as the years have gone by, specifically this one, there is reasons to show that Bungie is slowly reintroducing those things. So as you know, with the launch of the Witch Queen, in terms of the story, Mars has returned to our universe, as obviously, and in other terms, there is stuff that's steadily coming back to us. So we saw, first of all, with the release season of Witch Queen, Season of the Risen, we had the mission that took us to the original, and let me say, original Destiny 1 location of the Dead Barrens, which was pretty much the base spawn location of the original Destiny 1 Mars area. Why is that important? Well, not only was it there, almost literally every single thing, aside from new areas that we went to in that, was exactly the same as before. Sure, it looked a little more desolate possibly, but it was nevertheless unchanged. And moving forward with the next two seasons, Season of the Haunted was special because that was the introduction of the Leviathan. It had officially been gone a full year in terms of Destiny time, but at the same time, and completely reintroduced the Leviathan. Maybe not the Leviathan raid as most people would have wanted, but the Leviathan literally became a explorable patrol zone that, while not as open as maybe the original Leviathan was, it was still quite expansive considering it was an entirely new patrol zone. Now, the next season of the Splicer. While it was a unique in terms of area, at the same time, there wasn't many unique reintroduced areas, except for a few in the form of the pirate hideouts. Because if you actually paid attention well enough, while they weren't exactly new places, and while they did appear to be just random scraps of asteroids that we were exploring, at the same time, they were actually some of the previous maps we know redesigned for the new age. In case you weren't paying attention, some of them were from a lost sector that was on the original Destiny 2 map for Mars, and multiple lost sectors that were actually from different places that are no longer with us. But at the same time, there was some uniqueness, but there was definitely some restorations of original versions. With that, the season that came afterward, Season of the Seraph, which is the current season explained, is probably one of the best examples of why Bungie is actually making efforts to restore things from the vault. So if you obviously paid or played sometime this season, you would actually have been reintroduced to one world that we have not seen in a while. Now, while it is a unique case considering story-wise why we have it, at the same time, we went back to Bray Exoscience, which, while it was in a mission and was not a patrollable zone, was a location that was vaulted. Can you see a pattern here? We had one location that doesn't exist anymore come back in the first season. The second season, we had a location come back, while not as its original version, came back in a new way. The third one brought back some old assets in terms of visual and play areas. And the fourth last season of this, before Lightfall I should say, reintroduced a area that we used to have access to, and kind of expanded upon it and used it in ways that Bungie could use it for narrative-wise. Granted, with the introduction of things like Spire the Watcher and other things that existed in this game, there is definitely a case of Mars where it's unique because every single area there could just say, oh, there's the distortion field that is there. That's why we can see this window into the past, or things like that. Now, canonically, that makes sense. But also canonically, it's a little bit different because in terms of the lore, at least from what I've been able to understand, when one of these planets return to us from the Witness, the time distortions are evidence of their abduction, essentially. So any planet that returns to us will have those time distortions, which at that point makes it so that almost every single one of the planets that has been taken to us, or planets that we've been accessible in the past, or in like Destiny 1, like possibly in case, well, actually no, they probably wouldn't take Earth, so the Plague Lands is probably not a thing. But something like Venus, is say the Witness visited and Venus was taken. Well, if it comes back, could we have access to the Ishtar Collective and various other things story-wise? Possibly. But at the same time, what is my point here? I wanted to say that this season is a game changer for Destiny-wise. Because yes, obviously, with the introduction of Brea Exoscience in a mission, Bungie is taking leaps to say, hey, we have these things, we know we take them away, but we're not afraid to use them again. While we may not have Mars back as a patrol area, and while we may also not have access to Brea Exoscience or any of the activities, escalation protocol, any of the strikes that was on the Mars map, sure, we don't have access to any of those. But at the same time, it shows that Bungie is willing to restore parts of the game that has been officially vaulted in bits by bits. So what could this mean for Destiny? Now, Io has been vaulted, but does that mean that the Whisper mission could come back in the future? Most definitely, possibly. The 0 Hour mission was vaulted, but the world was not. Could 0 Hour come back? I would say yes, considering if they bring back the Red War campaign, possibly, or bits from that, that also means 0 Hour, considering it's the ruins of the old tower map, essentially. And a bunch of other things could come back. In addition to old reprised raids, as we've been seeing with the past year, obviously they restored Vaulted Blast, they restored King's Fall. They are not afraid of restoring things that used to be in the first version that can come back, especially big things like the raids. Could we see other activities like Prison of Elders come back? Possibly. More than likely. That's definitely something that could come back, granted time versions or the fact that the Prison of Elders has been destroyed / rebuilt again and all sorts of things. Varric is still around. We did kill his servitor that did run the Prison of Elders, but alas, I digress. Now, what I'm trying to basically say is that Bungie, while they did, of course, take some locations away, and people weren't the biggest fan of that, they've also showed that they are lenient in their options and are willing to not only restore original locations that we have lost, but also include areas that we have, not had access to in a long time. So, could I possibly see more locations, more worlds coming back, and also access to previous areas we have? Most definitely. Granted, Bungie has to, of course, restore these areas, have Mars not be the only planet that came back, also have Titan, Io, maybe Venus and other things in case they've been taken. But aside from that, I just wanted to cover why these last few seasons of Destiny have actually been a major game changer. While I know a lot of people are criticizing because, oh, the reused assets, oh, Bungie's not making new stuff, they're just reusing a bunch of old stuff. At this point, if they continue to reuse old stuff, if it means restoring stuff we don't exactly have access to anymore, I will fully take that over just having no access to it at all. With that, my name is Matt Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.